We both liked special effects as a career choice because it's something different every single day.
How does one get into that field?
You know, it's like an omelet. Everyone finds their own way how to do it.
Yeah. Is it something you know? You're as a kid, you're watching movies and
in
you
my case,
figure
yes.
out that's what you want to do.
Case, no. Actually, in my case specifically, I wanted to work in special effects since I was 11 and Star Wars came out.
Yeah.
And tried in several different ways in several different terrible situations where you know the pay was really crap, and people were real jerks, and ended up sort of forgetting about it as a career choice until Jamie called me, and then you know it opened up. Working in a place I enjoyed with people that I liked changed everything.
Yeah.
Jamie has a very different experience getting into it.
In my case, it was I'd done a lot of different things and you know learned a thing or two, but at one point I sat down and thought carefully about what it was that I wanted, because I realized that you know that it was actually by then I realized that it was actually possible to earn a living doing something that was fun, and so I thought about what that was, what was most meaningful for me, and you know I learned that routines are something that's not fun. Doing work
going into the office,
doing the same thing over and over again. You know, doing things that are creative is generally fun and varied, and all these kinds of things. And as I started looking around, and there aren't that many vocations that one could choose that meet that kind of criteria. Special effects was one, so I set about methodically getting my foot in the door and you know starting up cleaning the shop and putting things away. I was in general kind of handy by that time. I'd had experience doing so many different things, so I quickly rose to the top and had my own business before long. And
what other sorts of jobs were you doing prior to that?
I worked as
his resume is incredibly eclectic.
I ran a diving and sailing charter business
Okay.
in the Caribbean.
Wow.
For several years. Right before that,
Sounds like a pretty good gig.
Well, that's what you would think so.
Yeah.
But you try taking tourists out day after day.
Sure.
You know, going the same route and everything.
Making the same dumb mistakes every time.
Well, doing doing the same, telling the same stories, and you know, bringing them on a tour and watching them do the same thing. So, you know, that was what actually, and yet it was fun. You know, it was a beautiful place and what most people would consider the perfect job. So that's what inspired me to think carefully about it. But other than that, I grew up on a farm. I had a pet store. I worked in construction. I have a degree in Russian. You know, I worked as a cook. I did a range of things, almost like I was preparing myself for what later was to come, but basically creating a foundation of, you know, okay, I've been around here, I've been there, I've done
so you feel like
and now it's time to make a decision, you know, and so I did, and this was it.
Do you feel like what you're doing now, are you drawing upon those? Are you drawing upon, say, working at a pet store?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing, is that what again, this is one of those things that you may kind of see around the edges when you watch the show, but you may not realize what goes into it. One of the reasons that we're able to do what we do on the show, much of which is being done in a very short amount of time with very limited resources and all sorts of unusual environments, the reason we're able to do that is because of that broad foundation that both of us have in working with materials and processes. And even sociological factors and so on, and so that foundation is something like if you're a specialist, you don't get. You know, if you have this, we're able to, because of this broad foundation, and actually extrapolate answers to questions in areas that we have no direct experience with.
We've had the experience several times in doing Mythbusters where we've consulted an expert who's either refused to make a wild-ass guess for us, so we had to do enough research to make our own wild-ass guess, and we're right most of the time when we're doing this under the parameters that we're attempting to do it under. We've had experts tell us, you can't do this thing you're thinking about doing, and we've disagreed and proceeded anyway and succeeded at doing that. We've, you know, our careers, our professional careers up to this have been about trusting our instincts and learning the shape of our intuitions. And like I was saying, special effects was a career we both gravitated towards because of its eclecticism and what it required from you in terms of something different every day. And Mythbusters is that on steroids.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a quote from Steve Martin's autobiography, Born Standing Up, where someone tells him at the beginning of his career, you will eventually use everything you've ever learned. And I mean, that's what this show is all about. I mean, we did an experiment yesterday based on something I remembered seeing when I was 13 in junior high school, which was putting a glowing red hot sphere into boiling water. You could actually see a bubble of water around it because of this effect
Steam.
called the Leidenfrost effect.
A bubble of steam around
Oh, wow.
this red hot ball. It was like it was, it was coated in some glistening, transparent material. Though that was steam, that it was just, created its own little environment in the midst of an aquarium.